Hey guys, I just want to say hopefully you have already watched that Edpuzzle from yesterday. If you haven't, I would really encourage you to go back and do that because he kind of introduces a lot of these ideas, and I think it would be easier if you've already watched that. But either way, let's move on. The history of Earth is so vast, right? Vast just means really, really, really big. That when we're talking about the past of Earth, using terms like decades, centuries, even millennia, which is 1,000 years, are really just too small, right? Because all of those, it would be such an incredibly large number of those that it's just impractical. Okay, so we made a different way to talk about history and time when we're talking about the Earth, and we call it the geologic timescale. You might also see geological, whatever, same thing. Okay, and we can split it lots of different ways. There's eons, eras, periods, epochs. We're going to kind of focus on a couple of those, but we're going to have the history of Earth divided into 3 eras, which can further be split up into periods if we wanted. And I think there's a couple periods that we're going to talk about, but only because they're, special ones, maybe. And we say the time before all of those. Okay. And we're going to define when an era kind of starts and stops based on what happens to life. Okay, there's some major change in the kinds of life that exists or the dominant life form or something. Okay, so here we have that time before. So we're going to go in chronological order here. We have pre-Cambrian time. Okay, pre always means before, right? So we have pre-Cambrian time. It is going to be most of Earth's history. Okay, so this is from the formation of Earth. Okay, and I put this into the millions scale instead of billions. So 4,500 million is the same as 4.5 billion. Okay, just so that we can more directly compare millions of years over here. So from 4,500 million years ago to about 500 million years ago. So of the entirety of Earth's history, right? So if we think this is the entirety of Earth's history, 4,000 million years was all part of this Precambrian time. So this is by far the longest section of geologic time. Okay? It was really, 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 really long. And if you think about what I said, how we define when a period or an era or any of these geological timescale things starts and stops, it's defined by a big change in life. Okay? So the reason this is the longest is because it took a really, really, really long time to go from hot Earth, nothing can live, to lots of life, and we have a big change in life. So it takes a really, really long time because it took a long time for things to get started. So during Precambrian time, we have life starting to form. Okay, but it was really, really simple. Okay, so we're going to have bacteria and simple invertebrates. Okay, so remember, invertebrate means there's no spine. Okay, so things that were kind of similar to like jellyfish, and there were a lot of like colonial organisms where it was like a bunch of cells kind of living together, but not really. And so simple life. Okay, and it took a really, really long time just to even get to here. Next major division of time is the Paleozoic era. Okay, so this would be from about 500 million years ago to 250 million years ago. Okay, so this is a long time. So from 500 million years ago to 250 million years ago. So it lasted like 250 million years. Okay. Okay, during this time, we start to get some more complicated life. Okay, so we're going to be simple plants like fern and simple trees. But key idea, there's no flowering plants. And what you might consider flowering plants includes a lot more than that. Right, so the grass growing in your yard is technically a flowering plant. Right, if you let it grow up and don't mow it for a while, it's going to get that kind of tuft on the end. That's a flower, right? That's where it does its reproducing. So it's kind of what you think of as a flower. Biologists think of a lot more than that as flowers, okay? Things like insects start existing. We start to have vertebrates, especially the simpler vertebrates like fish, amphibians, and reptiles. Okay, so that's a lot of kinds of life developing during this Paleozoic era. Okay, this ended with a mass extinction. And that is going to be a pattern. Okay, we're going to see every era end with a mass extinction. That's how we define the end of an era. Okay, in this particular one, they're estimating, basing on fossil evidence, 70 to 90% of all living species went extinct during this mass extinction. So, I mean, think about all the living things that exist on Earth right now. If 90% of the species disappeared, how different Earth would look, right? So it was a really, really catastrophic change for a lot of species. But again, if 90% of the species went extinct, that means the species that were able to survive have a lot more room, right? So they kind of spread out, they diversify, they evolved to fill all the niches that the species that went extinct were doing. Okay, so after each mass extinction, there's usually kind of an explosion of new life. And so our next era is called the Mesozoic. Okay, and so this was from 250 million years ago till about 65 million years ago. This is when we see the first true dinosaurs. And you might be thinking, well, you said we made reptiles in the last era. Okay, dinosaurs are kind of a really specific type of reptile that is distinctly different than other kinds of reptiles. The most easy way maybe to distinguish a dinosaur from other reptiles is their hips. Okay, so if you looked at an alligator or a lizard, some kind of reptile from today, this is going to be a really great drawing from the front. So here's his face. Okay, his legs, reptiles' legs kind of go out. Okay, so here's his body trailing off behind him. There's his other set of legs. There's his tail. Okay, so their legs, their shoulder joints kind of go out like that. They kind of waddle. Okay, if you look at dinosaur legs, okay, oh boy, my T-Rex is going to end up looking more like a horse. Or a rabbit? I don't know. There's my T-Rex. What do you think? Their legs are more upright. Okay, so if I looked at, or maybe a long neck, there's my dinosaur. So his legs are more upright. Okay, his legs don't go out to the side like these guys do. They also think that true dinosaurs were not as cold-blooded as reptiles, right? They had a little bit of ability to regulate their own body temperature a little bit. And so, yes, we would say dinosaurs are a new development, even though there were reptiles in the Paleozoic. All right, so we get dinosaurs. We have some birds, only small mammals. Okay, they don't think during this time they really got bigger than like a shrew or a rat. Okay, somewhere in that size range during this time. And now we have this advent of flowering plants. Again, which includes most of the plants you know. Grasses, shrubs, most of the trees, pine trees, oak, you know, basically all the plants you know that aren't ferns, okay? And just like with the Paleozoic, the Mesozoic is going to end with a mass extinction. Okay. So they don't think quite as many of the species died during this mass extinction, about 70% or so. There's a lot of evidence for this one being caused by a meteoroid impact. That caused dust and debris to change the climate. All right, so this would be out in the atmosphere, blocking a bunch of sunlight, so it got cooler. And plants were less successful, and you know who needs a lot of plants to survive? This kind of dinosaur. And you know who needs a lot of this kind of dinosaur to survive? This kind of dinosaur. Remember, this is supposed to be a T-Rex. It's terrible art. Which, over time, causes extinctions. Okay, so we are now in Earth's history, only about 65 million years to the present. We started 4,500 million years ago. So we've covered most of Earth's history here. But what kind of things do we still not have on Earth? Okay, so we're all very egocentric, so it's very easy to answer that question. Well, we're not there. All right. Oh, we're still in the Mesozoic. Sorry, guys. So at the beginning of the Mesozoic, this is when we have that supercontinent Pangaea, which for some reason people always remember from junior high. So Pangaea was the supercontinent, all the continents were together. But by the end of the Mesozoic era, so during that, 100+ million years, okay, most of the continents had separated. Okay, so while Pangaea was together, all the species kind of were able to intermingle. Yes, it was a really, really big continent, but it was possible for something to walk from where land that's now Australia to land that is now Africa. Okay? After the continents separate, that's no longer possible. Okay? So the species are still changing, we're still developing new things, new species, all this good stuff, but after Pangaea breaks up, they're going to evolve separately. Okay, so there are lots and lots of fossils from before Pangaea broke up that have the same kinds of life in Australia and Africa and Asia, and we have the same exact kinds of fossils. But after 65 million years ago or so, okay, then fossils that are more recent than that, we don't see as many similar things, right? If you go to Australia, they have a lot of really, really, really different kinds of life than on Africa because they haven't been intermingling. They haven't been able to interact with each other, so their evolution has been on a different path. All right, so now for us, the Cenozoic era. Okay, so this is the one ever since the dinosaur extinction 65 million years ago. We have been in the Cenozoic era. That's us. That's now. Okay, so new things during this time. Okay, dinosaurs were too big and bulky, went extinct. Only the little birds survived. We get larger and more complex mammals. Okay, so we're going to get, like whales and big, and, camels and all kinds of big mammals. Right? Remember in the Mesozoic we said no mammals really existed that were bigger than a rat. So we start to get primates, and we have our first humanoid sort of animals. Okay. And so one other thing to think about with the Cenozoic is we believe We're having another mass extinction right now. Okay, well, what would be causing this mass extinction? I don't remember any giant meteor impact. No, but it would be caused by us. Okay, so mass extinctions are generally caused by something that then triggers a fast change in climate. And that's kind of what we are doing. We're taking away environments directly by deforestation and production of cropland where there once was a animal habitat, but climate change is also a huge factor here caused by increased carbon output. But think about this. Current rates of extinction are 100 to 1,000 times higher than normal. Okay, so they studied kind of the rate of extinctions and how quickly they can witness this species no longer exists. Okay, we're accelerating that rate of extinction 100 times faster to 1,000 times faster. Yes, that's a huge range. Okay, and it depends on what study you look at, but even if it's on the low end, that's a lot faster than normal. Okay, so we're going to do this table. This is when I would usually, in class, make you stop and go try to fill this table out by yourself. So I would really encourage you to do that, but I guess we'll do it this way because I don't see a way around it. So Precambrian time, when? Okay, so it was from 4,500 to 500 million years ago. Okay, MYA is millions of years ago. Okay, so let's just go all the way down for Precambrian time here. So how long did it last? If this is when it was, how long did it last? Well, it lasted 4,000 million years. Okay, so major changes. Okay, new things. We have bacteria, simple invertebrates. Kind of tight in there. And life-wise, that's about it. Okay, how did it end? Okay, this is kind of the only one that instead of ending with a mass extinction ends with an explosion of new life called the Cambrian explosion. Okay. And we call it the Cambrian explosion because the Cambrian is the first period of the Paleozoic era. I think I meant to have that typed in here. Okay, so the Cambrian explosion was this explosion. All of a sudden we have lots and lots of new life forming, and this would be the first period, remember eras are split into periods, of the Paleozoic era. Alright, so let's go through Paleozoic era. Okay, so it was from 500 to 250 million years ago. So it lasted 250 million years. Okay, major changes, new life forms here. We're going to have fern, insects, fish, amphibians, reptiles. And it's going to end like other eras with a mass extinction. Okay. Alright, make sure I didn't skip anything. No, I didn't skip anything. Alright, Mesozoic era, also called the Age of Dinosaurs. Okay, so it's going to pick up where the last one left off, 250 to 65 million years ago. How long did that last? 250 minus 65 gives us about 185 million years. Okay, so it's shorter than the last. And some new things existing in the Mesozoic. We have dinosaurs, which remember we talked about are reptiles, but they're kind of a distinct group of reptiles. Birds, mammals, I'm going to say small mammals. And flowering plants. Not quite enough space in there. Again, I'm just going to make sure I didn't skip anything. Nope. Ended mass extinction. All right. And here we are. Current time. Cenozoic era, 65 million years ago to present. Okay, this is where we are now. So far it's lasted about 65 million years. I'm going to say so far. All right, we're still in it. And what are the new things that are starting to show up now? Okay, so we're going to have large, complex mammals, which includes a lot of things, but I'm going to just list a couple of them. Primates, humans, and I think it's in the other day's notes, but 65 million years ago, we weren't alive for a long time into the Cenozoic. So like if this is the whole Cenozoic era here, this is 65 million years ago, and this is today, we're just here for like that much. Right, we're just at the very, very end. And how did it end? Hasn't ended yet. But it will end with a mass extinction, because that's how we define eras as ending. All right, so that's the end of 14.1.